Welcome to News from the Nations. We are so happy to have you here, whether you're watching live on Facebook or our YouTube. Welcome. My name is Heather and I'm the marketing manager here at Children of the Nations. Now, News from the Nations is a weekly broadcast where we share updates and news and inspiring stories. Our mission is to help raise children who transform nations in the 5 countries where we serve. Here at Children of the Nations, we help about 5,000 children every day in our programs and impact about 23,000 people every year through our medical clinics, summer camps, and Jesus Film. Now, while you're here, I want to invite you to like us on Facebook, follow our Instagram, our YouTube, or our LinkedIn. We're posting content all week long. I don't want you to miss out. And you are certainly not going to want to miss a single story from today's country deep dive. It is a good one. Now, if you're a regular here, welcome back. And if this is your first time watching, welcome. I want to know which one you are. So in the chat room below, let us know. We have 2 chat hosts today. This week is Nate and Kelly. So say hi to them. Nate and Kelly, say hi to everyone. They are there to answer your questions, connect with you on stories. So say hi. Now, one last thing, I want to invite you to share News from the Nations right now on your Facebook page with your friends and family. Now, without further ado, let's get into today's episode of News from the Nations. Welcome to News from the Nations. This is a live weekly broadcast where we are sharing the impact being made in the 5 countries where we serve. Now, since you can't travel, we are bringing the country to you today, and we are continuing our series, taking you deep into our countries and programs one by one. We're so happy to have you here. My name is Heather, and I'm the marketing manager here at Children of the Nations. Now, last week, we took you to Sierra Leone, and this week, we are leaving Africa and taking you to the Caribbean, to the Dominican Republic. In the chat room, I want to know if you have ever been to the Dominican Republic, or if you have any fun facts about the Dominican Republic. Let us know. Now, when you think of the Dominican Republic, you might think of the popular tourist destination known for its beautiful white sand beaches and blue water. However, by extreme contrast, the vast majority of the population lives in poverty and distressed conditions. The Dominican Republic is extra special to me because I have been to the Dominican Republic with Children of the Nations 3 separate times. I've had an opportunity to see the country, see the bouteilles, the poverty, but also the joy in the Dominicans' hearts with my own eyes. Now, we serve in the Dominican Republic for a handful of reasons, some of those being that families are suffering from a lack of basic necessities, things like running water or sewage or electricity, and that can all make healthcare a real concern as well. We're partnered with 5 communities in the Dominican Republic, and we serve almost 1,500 children and students. Now, for our first video, I want to share Children of the Nations I Love Baseball program with you. The vision for I Love Baseball is to give Dominican youth a place where they can pursue their dream of playing professional baseball while still getting an education, living a balanced life socially, and building moral character. Thousands of young men leave school and mortgage their future for a 1 in a million shot of making baseball their career. And this can result in them not being properly educated or going to live in academies that might be unhealthy. Now, this can greatly impact their future and continue the cycle of poverty in the Dominican Republic, but that all changes with the I Love Baseball program. Check it out. If you're just joining us, welcome. We are taking a deep dive into one of our countries, Dominican Republic, and we are so happy to have you here. Next up, I have a handful of videos to show you of children and students sharing encouraging messages about sponsorship, children of the nations, and staying healthy.
Hola, mi nombre es María Ángela Paredes, vivo en República Dominicana, me gusta el color azul. En mi tiempo libre me gusta estar con mi familia y con mis amigos. Mi comida favorita es arroz con guandula y carne. También me gusta cómo me tratan en el programa de Niños de las Naciones. Me llegan todas mis cartas, todo muy bien. Y que Dios le bendiga a todos.
Hola, mi nombre es señor Miguel Paredes Medina, soy de República Dominicana. Mi deporte favorito es el béisbol. Mi comida favorita es arroz, habichuela y carne. Mi materia favorita es matemática. Me gusta cómo Niños de las Naciones me trata porque me ha ayudado mucho, me llegan todas mis cartas y que Dios los bendiga.
Finally, I have a very insightful and very special interview to share with you. Take a look. Hi everyone, I am here with Mike Jungkeit. He is the chairman of the board of Children of the Nations. He is a surgeon who has gone to the Dominican Republic for the past 20 years in a row, and he also happens to be my dad. So welcome, Dad.
Thank you.
I have a few questions for you about the Dominican Republic.
All right.
I would love for you to share why you started going in the first place 20 years ago.
Yeah. Well, it was about 20 years ago, and COTN was a relatively new entity. A handful of doctors, that is, from our local community had been going to the Dominican Republic for a couple of trips, and I was new to the community, and honestly, I thought, well, I'm a Christian, I'm a doctor, I can actually go there and do some work, and I felt, honestly, kind of obligated to go before the Lord. Honestly, no one pressured me to go. So yeah, that was my initial trip.
Why do you keep going back for 20 years?
Yeah. Well, that's when things changed in my second trip, and about halfway through that second trip, again, out of somewhat of an obligation, again before the Lord just switched my heart from this obligatory I should go to wow, this is really I need to do this. This is how God wired me. This is a complete blessing. It was just great enjoyment, fulfillment, and it really came to pass in my own heart that the scripture that says my yoke is light came to be in my heart, that it became an easy effort because the Lord had given me the joy in my heart to do it for the right reasons, not just because I'm obligated to go.
Yeah. And I've actually gotten to go to the Dominican Republic 3 times with you and see it with my own eyes. And I mean, at that point, you've already been going for quite a few years. So it's just part of who you are at this point in your DNA. Yeah. So do you have any fun stories or a top story that comes to mind from your 20 years of visiting?
Well, yeah, a lot.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I've had to
pick one.
Well, one of the interesting things, as I've been going for so long, I've clearly seen a lot of changes in the country. I'll never forget on my first trip, it was really the classic picture of the poorest of the poor of this world, a lot of children with malnutrition, just really dire circumstances in how they lived. And we simply don't see much of that at all anymore, which is very encouraging as a whole. But the development of the programs there in the country for education, spiritual development for so many youngsters that would have never known about the Lord have learned of Jesus and how to serve him, and most importantly, how to become a child of God. Ultimately, though, the excitement of what's ahead is honestly what continues to be present in my mind, and that is how the kids that were the youngest of the young and the little students that were running around not knowing much and not having much of an education history in their family have become the professionals of today and tomorrow. Honestly, it sounds funny to say this, but I would want our role as visiting doctors and visiting surgeons to become somewhat obsolete as we continue to raise up these kids to become
raising children who transform their nations.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
I remember even being a young child and you talking about Charzon, and
Yes.
that being, he was the first
Yeah.
student from our program who became a doctor, correct?
That is correct.
Amazing.
So Charzon was a child from Algodón, the Batey there, and in fact, it was the first Batey, I believe, that COTM became involved in. And I met him when he was quite young, and since then he's gone to medical school. He's become even a colleague of mine. He's helped in surgeries when I've gone back, and he and others like Dr. Solomon and Anthony and others that have been through medical school that are now helping develop really the medical care for our kids. So it's not just give a man a fish, but actually teach him how to fish and feed him for a lifetime. It creates a depth in our hearts as leaders of the organization to say this is exactly fulfilling our mandate and our vision.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for your time today, and sure you're looking forward to getting back to the country as soon as we're able to.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
All right.
I hope you are feeling uplifted and inspired this morning after hearing and seeing what life looks like from the children of the Dominican Republic. Now, if you want to know how you can get involved and change a child's life, I would love to introduce you to sponsorship. I actually sponsor a young girl from the Dominican Republic, and I want to encourage you to sponsor a child from the Dominican Republic today. I know I've mentioned this the past few episodes, but sponsorship sets their life on a new trajectory. It completely changes these children's lives, puts them on a completely new path. Now, the national leadership in each of our countries creates programs to ensure that the children can live a transformed life with Children of the Nations and that they can meet the individual needs of each child. Now, this can include things like clean water access in each community, nutritious food, full-time Christian education, and full-time medical care. And this helps break the cycle of poverty and helps them rise up to be leaders in their countries. There's going to be a link in the chat room below for you to check out sponsorship today with Children of the Nations. I want to thank you so much for sharing this time with us here at News from the Nations. Before you sign off, we have a very important video reminder that you do not want to miss. Thank you for joining me as we looked at life in the Dominican Republic today. I'm Heather, and we'll see you next week on News from the Nations. Bye.
Hola, mi nombre es Erasmus Moreta y ellos son mis amigos.
Soy Elisandra.
Nosotros somos de Pueblo Nuevo, pertenecemos a las Naciones, República Dominicana, y queremos enseñarles cómo combatir el COVID-19. Sígueme. Ábrame los ojitos, ábrame los oídos, yo quiero verte, yo quiero verte. Adentro te pido, yo quiero verte, yo quiero verte, contemplar su majestad y el resplandor de su gloria, derrama su amor y poder. Así es que nosotros evitamos el COVID-19 aquí en República Dominicana. Recuerden quedarse en casa y Dios les bendiga.